Hi, I'm Jeremy, and welcome to Perez Woodworks. Hello and welcome. Welcome to my shop, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I'm a little nervous about making this video, so stick with me while I work through the growing pains of YouTube. I've been doing woodworking now for about 2 years, and I really enjoy it. I had a pretty good base to build on. I've worked with my hands my whole life. I don't do it professionally, but I've always been the type that if I can make it myself and learn how to make it myself, I'm going to make it myself. And through the process of doing that throughout my life, I've learned a lot of things. I got into woodworking, like I said, about 2 years ago, and I really enjoy it. I've made tons of things, lots of different items for homes. My favorite thing to make is dining room tables. You know, everyone says that the kitchen is the heart of the home. Well, the product of the kitchen is immediately taken to the dining room table. And there have been, I guess, several people now who have put their trust in me and put their trust in my work and had me make a table for them to put at the heart of their home. And I just think that's really cool as a maker and just as a human being. I think that's cool. Now let's talk about the video. Obviously, you know this video is about a Kreg Foreman mobile work center thing because that's what it says up top, or that's what you searched and it brought you here. Or maybe you started on YouTube 4 hours ago and was looking at videos of skateboarders falling down, and we all know the wonderful rabbit hole of YouTube where you keep clicking and 5 hours later you're watching something that has nothing to do with what you intentionally went on to look at. Either way, here we are. Now this mobile center that I've made for myself, I'll tell you a little bit about it. I'm on Instagram at Perez Woodworks, if you don't follow me. And a couple weeks ago, I think it's about 2 weeks now, I made this mobile center for my Foreman that I recently purchased. Now, when I put that on my Instagram, Kreg actually picked it up and shared it on their page twice, which is super cool. And because of that, largely because of that, 90% of that, I started to get tons and tons and tons of emails and direct messages on social media, on all platforms of social media rather, about the center that I made. You know, people inquiring about plans, what it's made of, the things of that nature. And as opposed to responding back to every single person, I thought it might be cool to try to break into the YouTube world, because I've been thinking about it anyway, and I thought, what better time to start than now? So what I'm going to do today is make another center and show you exactly how I did it, and the benefits of it, and the perks of it, and why I love having it in my shop. Now also, before we get started, I want to state for the record right up front, there's a lot of Kreg stuff in my shop. I'm a huge fan of their products, and you'll see a lot of blue as we go throughout the video. I'm not sponsored by Kreg, I'm not paid by Kreg, Kreg doesn't send me things. I'm just a huge fan of the products that they put out.
To start this project, you'll need 5 sheets of 3/4 inch MDF. Now, this stuff can get really heavy, so if you don't have a setup like I have, then find friends that owe you favors to help you move it. And like most projects involving sheet goods, we're going to start by ripping these panels down. When it's all said and done, you'll need 10 pieces that are 27 inches wide. If you've never worked with MDF before, it is incredibly dusty and throws all kinds of stuff in the air that likes to find its way into you. So just make sure that all the holes in your face are covered up.
DeWalt makes a dust boot for this saw. I don't have it. I need to get it.
And just when things are going smoothly, I thought it might be fun to give this a whirl. Yep, nope, I was wrong. Not fun.
Yep, I just did that. So I'm using just these 2 pieces here. I got one still on the piece, just to support. And I had this support out too far away from the cut. So what happened is when I made the cut, the cut piece caved in instead of falling out if it was supported at the cut. They're 27 inches long. This is 3.5 inches wide. So if you got 3.5 inches out here on the end of 27 inches trying to support it, and the other side, the other piece, support piece on the inside of the cut, it's obviously going to fall in the middle. That was my fault, stupid mistake. What happened when you saw the saw kick is it actually kicked back into the jig, and you can see right here, I dug into that aluminum quite nicely. To my own dumb fault. Things happen, no one is hurt, so it's not a big deal, but it's a nice gouge there and a $80 piece of equipment. Oh well, things happen. All right, now that we've got all of our pieces cut to width, it's time to get them cut to length. For these of measurements, we're gonna cut all these down to 30 inches. So the cabinet will be 30 inches tall by 30 inches wide. And there'll be two of them, and the deck between the two cabinets that the Foreman sits on is 18 inches wide. So that'll give you 78 inches of width for stock support on your Foreman. That's, what, 6.5 feet? So that's plenty to support anything that you may need to put a pocket hole into.
Now I'll use my table saw to cut all these pieces down. You'll see that I don't have a crosscut sled. So if you don't have one, just be careful doing this and take your time because you don't want a piece to kick out on you. And when you're done, you should have 10 pieces that are exactly the same size.
Okay, now that we've got all of our pieces cut to size, we're going to take 4 of them and just set them aside for now. 4 of them are done. That's going to be the top of each cabinet and the bottom of each cabinet. We don't need to do anything to them. The rest, the other 6, it's time to use some Kreg stuff on them. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am super excited to use this. This will be the first time I've used it finished. A little weird that I'm using it to make another one, but hey!
I think I'm in love.
Woo! Now that we have everything cut to size and pocket holes put in every piece that we need, it's time to put the shelf pins in. Now, if you've never put in shelf pins before, it's a relatively easy process that you can do without a tape measure. Depending on the kind of jig you have. Obviously, you're gonna be shocked, I know, mine's Kreg. The biggest thing you need to keep in mind is each piece you need to mark the bottom. You'll see on all 6 of these pieces I have written bottom on, well, the bottom. That way your holes line up. Because if you start from different sides on either side and you go down on the row, there's a potential that your holes aren't gonna line up perfectly like they should. So what you do is you take your jig here and just go ahead and flush it up down to the bottom of the piece and clamp her down. Now, we don't need holes all the way down here. There's nothing you're going to put a shelf down here that 1 inch tall that really needs that much shelf support. So, to keep things simple, what I'll do on these is I'm going to start here in the very top hole. So we'll go ahead and drill that hole. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and unclamp that one. And then we'll take our alignment pin and we're going to move the jig up to the hole we just drilled to the bottom hole on the jig. Put the alignment pin in, which keeps everything aligned. And then we'll start drilling these out. Pull off your clamp, pull out your pin, and there's your holes. And then we'll do it one more time. So the same thing again, top hole, bottom hole in the jig. Take your alignment pin, get her in there. Clamp her up, drill them out. And then wash, rinse, and repeat. We now have everything cut to size. We have everything that needs pocket hole, and we have all of our shelf pins in. It's now time to start building some boxes.
Now making these boxes is pretty straightforward. Just lay your pieces out, make sure they're square, and screw them together. As opposed to flipping and potentially breaking a three-sided box, I'll always put the fourth piece on as it sits and just use long clamps to hold it together while I screw it. Now when it comes time to putting the middle piece in, just find your middle lines, put it in, line it up, and make sure it stays in the middle.
Now that we have the cabinet constructed, it's time to put the back in, which we need to cut still. The measurements for the back are going to be the exact same measurements of the width and the height of the cabinet that we cut, which is 30 inches tall by 30 inches wide, minus the two edge pieces, which are 3/4 inch, inch and a half total, so 28 and a half inches. So this piece is going to be 30 inches tall by 28 and a half inches wide. Now you can go ahead and put it on now, but what I do is I will get it cut and I'll put it on once this thing's on the ground. MDF is heavy. It weighs almost 100 pounds per sheet, per 4x8 sheet. And that can add up quick. And I'm not a big guy. I like to think I'm buff. But I know from experience it's heavy because I've dropped a cabinet before. It was a lot bigger than this, lot bigger than this. It was like 27 feet long and 3 feet high. It had taken 12 men and a boy to get it down. It's heavy, okay? So what I'll do is I will lay this on its back right now, get the wheels put in, and then once this guy's in the ground, we'll go and put the back on. Now that we've got the first box done, we need to repeat exactly all the steps we took and make the second one.
Look, twins! After the second cabinet was built and on the ground, it was time to cut and install the backs. I used the same 3/4 inch MDF to make the backs as well, which is way overkill for the back of a cabinet, but I figured it couldn't hurt since these are going to be pushed around the shop. And it did add a lot of strength to the cabinet.
Now when it comes time to mount the shelf that the Foreman's going to sit on, we need to find the height that shelf needs to be mounted at, so that when you go to put your Foreman in, the top of the Foreman sits flush with the top of the cabinets. Now there's a couple ways you can go about that. I'm going to show you the easiest way I have found to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a scrap piece of 3/4 inch MDF, because that's what the shelf's going to be made out of. I'm going to put that on top of the Foreman, and then I'm going to take a combination square and I'm going to put it on top of that piece on top of the Foreman and push that square, that measurement, all the way down to the shelf that it's sitting on. Now obviously mine's already installed in my center, but you can easily just do this on your workbench as well. Now that measurement there is 8 3/16, right in between there. That is going to be the height that the supports that the shelf will mount on needs to be screwed to the sides of the cabinets. When you put the supports at that height, then put your shelf on, then put your Foreman on, it's going to land flush perfectly with the top of your cabinets.
I then took that combination square over to the cabinets and made my marks on the sides. Cut 4-inch strips down for the supports, leveled them out, and screwed them in. It was then time to make these two cabinets into one big awesome unit. And I'm using a 12-inch extension bit here on my drill so I can get the screws going straight down. Next came ripping down a bunch of 30-inch strips of 3/4-inch standard whiteboard that will make up all the blue face frames for the cabinets. You will need 5 for each cabinet, you will need 4 for the shelves, and 2 pieces of the same whiteboard not ripped down for the middle. And then it was time to paint. Here's a get to know the maker little fun fact about Jeremy. I hate painting. After 2 coats of shellac, I made my mark heavy and dark. Now the blue paint here is Olympic Paints Planetarium Blue. Took me a little while to find it, and I got a lot of funny looks at Lowe's while I was waving a Kreg clamp up and down the blue aisle. Once all that blue paint was dry, it was time to tack them up. I'm wearing gloves because, well, it wasn't dry yet. Patience is a virtue. I'm working on it.
Well, there you have it. One completed, custom-made Kreg Foreman mobile center. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Although I've been nervous, like I said, it's been a lot of fun for me. If you like what you saw, maybe give me a like on the video and a subscribe to my channel. Now obviously, as I said at the beginning, this is my first video, so if you subscribe, you're just gonna watch this one again. But I plan on making more videos coming in the future when projects come along in my shop. Now, if the video wasn't instructive enough for you, I plan on making written plans for this center as well and posting them on buildsomething.com, which is Kreg's DIYer site. If you're not familiar with that site, go check it out. It's a really cool place to find plans and see how other people build things. Also, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the Woodwork Life. If you don't follow him either on Instagram or YouTube, go on over to his channels and check him out. He puts out great content and he's really fun to watch. And he has been kind of instrumental for me into diving in headfirst into the YouTube world. So if you don't, go over and give him a look. As always, stay awesome, stay building, and thanks for following along. Whew. Well, that only took 400 takes. Wait. Now I have 2 of these.